Just waiting. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Executive Board this evening. Could I first like to mention our thoughts are with Councillor Dawn Downs, who is currently unwell in hospital. So just share that with councillors that don't know, and our thoughts are with her and her family at this time. Thank you. And I'd also like to welcome two of our external auditors, Maria Grinley and Vishal Savjani. So welcome to you too. Excuse me. First item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Chief Exec.
Just one. Yes, thank you, Chairman. Just one. Councillor Farrell, and his substitute is Councillor Hayden Phillips.
Thank you for that. Item 2 is the disclosable pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. I see no hands raised, so moving on. Item 3, public participation. Do we have any questions, Chief Exec?
No questions have been received, Chairman. Thank you.
Item 4 is the minutes of the Executive Board held on the 23rd of November 2020. Do I have a proposer?
I'll propose that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Dave Humphreys, and seconded Councillor Simmons. Thank you. We don't have to take a vote on that, do we? A formal vote?
No, in the circumstances, unless anybody else wishes to call a vote, but I'm happy to take that as read.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 5 is the local transport plan. Warwickshire County Council is in the process of updating their current local transport plan, which is a document that sets out the transport needs, challenges, priorities and objectives for the county. As members will be aware, we have an aspiration to have a transport plan based on the geography and the needs of North Warwickshire, as this isn't always focused on the administrative county of Warwickshire. The report therefore supports the themes put forward by the county. It also asks to add some additional matters to support more of a focus on the needs of our borough, as set out in paragraph 6.1 of the report. The report also notes that the work on the North Warwickshire's issues is to recommence with a further meeting of the member group together with colleagues from the County Council. I've got Councillor Simpson.
Thanks, John. I move that we note the report and continue with the suggested names put forward at paragraph 5.3.
Councillor Deakin.
I'll second that as well.
So it has been moved and seconded then. I don't see any other further speakers. So again, do we have to take a vote? We have to take a vote on this then. So
Thank you.
Chief Exec.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bell.
4.
Councillor Deakin.
4.
Councillor Gosling.
4.
Councillor Humphreys.
4.
Councillor Phillips.
4.
Councillor Riley.
4.
Councillor Rose.
4.
Councillor Simpson.
4.
Councillor Simmons.
4.
And Councillor Wright.
4.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chief Exec. Moving on then, excuse me, is item number 6, the external auditors report. So this is the audit of the 2018-19, such a distant or some time ago. Financial statements have been completed. Some changes were required. The report provides the amended statements for approval and includes a report of the external auditors. But I believe there's another minor change. So I'm going to ask Sue to come in, please.
Oh yes, thank you, Chair. We've just had a request just to update some figures in note 41, which is the note around the going concern. And it's really just to make sure we have the most up-to-date figures in the note. So I would hope with that small amendment, members would be happy to support the statements.
Do we know what those updated figure is? Shall we bring in the auditors? Would one of the auditors like to comment?
Thank you, Chairman.
Hi, Maria. Thank you.
Hi, members. Thank you. It's literally in the going concern note. So it talks about the fact that in order to complete our work, we had to complete our consultation and update it. And the figures, so it's going to talk about your short-term investment holdings as at the end of January 2021 at 45.5 million. And also that your balances at March 2022 are predicted to be 45.6 million, made up of earmarked reserves of 4.5 million, general fund balance of 1.6 million, cash of 3 million, in addition to the 36.5 million investment holding. The reason for the change is because the big issue this year around going concern, which is obviously unusual for those of us who have been around local government for many years, as I have, has been literally triggered by the focus on the going concern requirements and also obviously the implications of COVID. And so we've had to ensure that, you know, when signing the accounts, which I will be doing tomorrow, is that the going concern assessment goes 12 months after my signature, so it needs to go into 2022 and March 22. So that's why we needed to get it absolutely bang up to date.
Thank you for that, Maria. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Chairman. I think that's partially answered one of my queries, but I have three questions basically. I'd like to properly understand, and I don't at the moment, why this report and this information is so delayed. I begin by saying I don't think it's acceptable under any circumstances that the accounts are so delayed. Secondly, what was the reason for the increase in fee above the budgeted amount? And thirdly, given that, which I think you partially touched on, given that this is the 2018-19 financial statements, what COVID has to do with it when the period of the accounts was entirely COVID-free?
Okay, I'm happy to take those, Chairman, through you. Okay, thank you.
Please do, thank you.
Thank you. So if I can, in our audit report on page 123, we set out that there were initial delays due to capacity issues within audit, but that was then followed by issues with the information provided to us, and then COVID did kick in. So whilst the year end is March of that year, by the time we were in completing the audit, COVID did impact on the audit visit. We also, if members look at the audit report and the audit differences identified, there were a number of differences identified within the financial statements. There was a lot of work that had to be undertaken in order to work through areas of the statements. We did encounter a number of issues along the way, not just around the difficulty in getting information to support the items within the statements, and some of that was down to sickness on the council side from the point of view of one of the experts that we needed to rely on. But also there were issues with some of the supporting documentation and some of the figures within the statements. So there was a lot of work that was completed. From the point of view of additional fees, we have had to complete additional work this year, and our fees are always set on the basis that we'll get a set of statements with supporting documentation that we can use to support the positions in the accounts, and that we don't have to undertake additional significant work. Any additional fees will be discussed obviously in detail, and they do also go through PSAA Limited from the point of view of their review of additional fees, and they certainly do work through the detail of those additional fees to ensure that they're satisfied that they are supported and reasonable compared to what they would expect for those areas of work.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Simpson.
Thanks, Chairman. I'm not sure I'm any further forward with that, because I think that answer just gave me a repetition of what it says in the report. I've been struggling to find the relevant page, given there's so much of it. But in the report, it talked about two particular cases where our auditors had to go and do some additional work. It's, I think, the result of the McLeod and the GMP judgments as far as pensions contributions concerned. Given that we paid an additional fee for that work, I'd like to understand what it was.
Maria, can you?
Yeah, I think Sue's going to come in on that one.
Okay, Sue. Sue.
Sorry, I was just going to say, as regards the pension update, we actually employ some actuaries to do the assessment for us. The original assessment they'd done was prior to the McLeod and GMP type issues. So we actually went out and got them to revisit, that actuarial assessment. So clearly that took a little while for us to organise, but that was done and the latest figures have been included. That is outside of Ernst & Young. That is a separate issue in that particular case.
Thank you, Chairman. I understand that, but the report tells me an additional fee for out-of-scope work was agreed as a result of the McLeod and GMP judgments. So if that was done by the actuaries, why are we paying the accountants?
I'm sorry, I do beg your pardon. Which part of the report are you looking at, please, Councillor Simpson?
Page 149 of 159.
Oh, within our report?
Yes.
Okay, so the additional work was required from us because we had to go back in and review the figures and review the experts' report that you had. So whenever a council uses an expert, we have to do work to rely on the expert, and we have to check that the amendments are appropriate and appropriately tracked through the accounts.
Okay, I'm still, Chairman, sorry, I still don't understand what the McLeod and GMP judgments were. So perhaps if Sue Garner could send me some information on those outside of the meeting, rather than delaying us further.
Certainly, Chair. Yes, I'm more than happy to do that, and I can try and summarise it a bit better. Then it's quite a complex case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Councillor Simpson, for being so analytical of the accounts. I don't see anybody else's hands raised. I'm assuming, Councillor Simpson, that is a legacy hand, unless you want to come back.
It was, Chairman, but it's also to propose the recommendation.
Oh, thank you very much. So it's been proposed by, excuse me, Councillor Simpson, seconded by Councillor Simmons. I'll put that to the vote. Councillor Chief Exec, just Chief Exec, I think, probably will do.
One step at a time, Chairman. Thank you. Councillor Bell.
4.
Councillor Deakin.
4.
Councillor Gosling.
4.
Councillor Humphreys.
4.
Councillor Phillips.
sorry, 4.
Thank you. Councillor Riley.
4.
Councillor Rose.
4.
Councillor Simpson. Councillor Simpson.
4.
Councillor Simmons.
4.
And Councillor Wright.
4.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Item number 7 is the capital strategy. The capital strategy attached to Appendix A, B, approved. So that, as we know, the capital strategy is reviewed annually and updated as necessary. Capital resources remain limited, so the overall approach is unchanged from that used last year. Any Councillor Gosling?
Just to note that the Labour Group will be abstaining on anything which affects budgetary decisions, including this item.
Thank you for that, Councillor Gosling. That's appreciated. Noted. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? I don't see any hands raised. No. Okay. I'll move that from the chair then, seconded by Councillor Simmons. Move to the vote then, please, Chief Exec.
Councillor Bell.
4.
Councillor Deakin.
Abstain.
Councillor Gosling.
Abstain.
Councillor Humphreys.
4.
Councillor Phillips.
Abstain.
Councillor Riley.
4.
Councillor Rose.
Abstain.
Councillor Simpson.
4.
Councillor Simmons.
4.
And Councillor Wright.
4.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chief Exec. Moving on then to item number 8. It's the proposed 3-year capital programme 21-22 to 2023-24. For the management team, a 10-year forecast of available capital resources identified a potential shortfall in funding of £204,000 against the limited general fund programme, with the shortfall starting mid-forecast. Figures for the later years are indicative only at this stage, but will need to be kept under review. The report proposes a 3-year capital programme for both housing revenue account and the general fund, which is fully funded. The programme includes provision for some additional work in the HRA and includes an increase in the allocation for materials recycling facilities, or SMRF as we like to know it as. Following discussion at Resources Board last month, funding of £1 million has been included in the programme for the scheme on Coleshill High Street, with the restriction that it can be only committed once Resources Board have received the appropriate detail and approved the scheme. A report will go to Resources Board next month, setting out further details for the work which is required and a proposed way forward. Any questions, comments? Councillor Deakin.
Thank you. We will be minority reporting this to full council after this meeting, just letting you know of that.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Deakin. Any other comments or queries? There are none, so I shall propose that from the chair, seconded by Councillor Simpson. Thank you. Move to the vote. Chief Exec, please.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
4.
Councillor Deakin.
Abstain.
Councillor Gosling.
Abstain.
Councillor Humphreys.
4.
Councillor Phillips.
Abstain.
Councillor Riley.
4.
Councillor Rose.
Abstain.
Councillor Simpson.
4.
Councillor Simmons.
4.
And Councillor Wright.
4.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chief Exec. Next item, item number 9, is the general fund revenue estimates, or looks at the estimates for services. The report to this board includes changes in the timing of LDF work. Anybody got any comments, queries, questions? Councillor Simpson.
Move the recommendation, Chairman.
Thank you. And seconded by...
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Humphreys. Move to the vote then, Chief Exec, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bell.
For.
Councillor Deakin.
Abstain.
Councillor Goslin.
Abstain.
Councillor Humphreys.
For.
Councillor Phillips.
Abstain.
Councillor Riley.
For.
Councillor Rose.
Abstain.
Councillor Simpson.
For.
Councillor Simmons.
For.
And Councillor Wright.
For.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chief Exec. Next item on the agenda is the General Fund Revenue Estimates 21-22 and the setting of the Council Tax 21-22. The report brings all the general fund spending together and compares the Council's spending requirements to the resources available. Council's already difficult financial position has become worse as a result of the pandemic. The report shows that the resources are significantly lower than expenditure, increasing the need to reduce future spending. Even with the approval of the proposed reductions in expenditure in 21-22 and a council tax increase of £5, there is a requirement to reduce our annual spending by £2.1 million over the following 3 years, with £1.5 million needed in 22-23. Report sets out recommendations for the preparation of a council tax resolution for consideration by full council next week. Any comments or queries, questions? Councillor Deakin.
Thank you. Just a quick question regarding Appendix O, 1.1 in the changes in expenditure. On the point about planning income, do we expect the shortfall of that to be recovered when those larger applications come in? Do we expect those larger applications to still come in to the council, despite the difficulties and concerns that some organisations will have about development?
The honest answer, Councillor Deakin, is hopefully. Okay, Councillor Simpson, did you want to come in on that?
Thank you, Chairman. I think that there's a two-stage answer to it. I mean, yes, we would expect them to come forward, but timing is the issue. No one knows when businesses will be in a position to resume their business plans. But to be fair, the budget is based on it. So I would expect the answer to be yes, but with a very indefinite view over time to come.
Thanks, Councillor Simpson. Anybody else? I don't see any other hands raised. No. So I'll move that from the chair, seconded by Councillor Simmons. Thank you. And move that to the vote then. Chief Exec.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bell.
For.
Councillor Deakin.
Abstain.
Councillor Goslin.
Abstain.
Councillor Humphreys.
For.
Councillor Phillips.
Abstain.
Councillor Riley.
For.
Councillor Rose.
Abstain.
Councillor Simpson.
For.
Councillor Simmons.
For.
And Councillor Wright.
For.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the progress on achievement of the corporate plan. No, it's not. I do apologise. It's the financial statements 1920. The 1920 accounts were completed in November, but missed the deadline for reporting to the November meeting of this board. the actual position of the general fund was better than anticipated in revised budget, whilst the HRA was slightly worse. Do I have any comments or queries? Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a slightly sarcastic question of do we expect any delays with our accountants getting the final position to us for agreement?
I believe the auditors have already started out some preparatory work to their audit already, Councillor Simpson. So hopefully they will be on time this time. And I see Sue Garner has got her hands raised. Sue.
If I could just add, Chair, that as well as preparatory work, they're fairly well full throttle at it at the moment, which is making life quite interesting, trying to do both final accounts and estimates at the same time. But the team are endeavouring to respond to all information requests. It is quite difficult. One of the issues we have had, both with 1920 and 1819, is the fact that a number of our systems are still unfortunately paper-based. And of course, we're required to provide everything electronically, which all adds to the time constraints that we have. But nonetheless, we are endeavouring to move things along as quickly as we can so that we can get 1920 signed off before we have to do 2021.
Thank you, Sue. With that bit of good news, I guess, I'll move that from the chair and seconded by Councillor Simpson. Thank you. And move that to the vote. Thank you, Chief Exec.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bell.
For.
Councillor Deakin.
Abstain.
Councillor Goslin.
Abstain.
Councillor Humphreys.
For.
Councillor Phillips.
Abstain.
Councillor Riley.
For.
Councillor Rose.
Abstain.
Councillor Simpson.
For.
Councillor Simmons.
For.
Councillor Wright.
For.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chief Exec. So now the next item, item number 12, is the progress report on achievement of corporate plan and performance indicator targets to December 2020. This is the usual report on the key performance measures we currently have. Any questions, comments? I see no hands raised or queries. No. Okay, so I shall move that from the chair, seconded by Councillor Simmons, and move to the vote. Thank you, Chief Exec.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bell.
For.
Councillor Deakin.
For.
Councillor Goslin.
For.
Councillor Humphreys.
For.
Councillor Phillips.
For.
Councillor Riley.
For.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Councillor Simpson.
For.
Councillor Simmons.
For.
And Councillor Wright.
For.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the trading company. The report asks for approval to establish a register a trading company so that the council is in a position to move quickly if a suitable trading opportunity arises. Councillor Deakin and then Gosling.
Thank you. We really welcome this this idea that's come to board today. On the non-executive directors item, we would like to propose that we appoint them, allow a Labour representative, if that wasn't your plan in the first place, to be one of those non-executive directors. I assume that you would also want two Conservatives as the non-executive directors, but that is our proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Deakin. Councillor Gosling.
Yeah, to follow on what Jack was saying, really to ask the chief exec's advice on whether or not these would be appropriate at that time.
Well, I think that's what we were proposing to start with, to see how it goes. And I mean, I was going to suggest, rather than named, it be done by role. I would suggest that the non-exec directors should be the leader of the council, the chair of resources, and either the leader of the opposition or the resources spokesperson.
Yeah.
Steve, Chief.
Yes, that's fine. I think if either Councillor Goslin or Councillor Deakin could just confirm which of those two, that'll probably be easier for the minutes if that's not putting on the spot.
I think that's probably going to be me.
Thank you. Noted.
Thanks.
Okay, so well, I'll move that from the chair, then seconded by. I'm looking for a hand.
I'll second it, Chair.
Councillor Humphreys, thank you. Oh, and I think
Margaret
Councillor
seconded.
Bell as well. Okay, so move that to the vote, Chair, Chief Exec.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bell,
4.
Councillor Deakin,
4.
Councillor Goslin,
4.
Councillor Humphreys,
4.
Councillor Phillips,
4.
Councillor Riley,
4.
Councillor Rose,
4.
Councillor Simpson,
4.
Councillor Simmons,
4.
and Councillor Wright.
4.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chief Exec. The next item on the agenda is the pay policy statement 21-22. The pay policy has been updated for 2021-22 for the council to approve. Any comments, queries, questions? I see no hands raised, so I shall move that from the chair, seconded by Councillor Simmons, and move that to the vote then, Chief Exec.
Thank you. Councillor Bell,
4.
Councillor Deakin,
Abstain.
Councillor Goslin,
Abstain.
Councillor Humphreys,
4.
Councillor Phillips,
Abstain.
Councillor Riley,
4.
Councillor Rose,
Abstain.
Councillor Simpson,
Against.
Councillor Simmons,
4.
and Councillor Wright.
4.
Thank you, Chairman.
So the next item on the agenda is the minutes of the Safer Communities Subcommittee. Councillor Riley, do you want to say anything?
No, Chair, other than to propose minutes be adopted, unless anybody's got any questions.
I see no hands raised, so you're moving that, Councillor Riley, and I will second.
Yes, please. Thank you.
And we don't need a formal vote on that unless anybody is to the contrary. So I'll take that as unanimous. Thank you. Excuse me. So the next item on the agenda is the exclusion of the public and press. Consider whether, in accordance with section 100A (4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public and press be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined by Schedule 12A to the Act. Do I have a proposer? Well, I'll propose that. And seconded by Councillor Simmons.
Second that.
So we are now moving into private and confidential. Oh, we do need a vote. I do apologise. Yes.
Sorry,
Chief
Chairman.
Exec.
Sorry, Chairman. Councillor Bell.
4.
Councillor Deakin.
4.
Councillor Goslin.
4.
Councillor Humphreys.
4.
Councillor Phillips.
4.
Councillor Riley.
4.
Councillor Rose.
4.
Councillor Simpson.
4.
Councillor Simmons.
4.
And Councillor Wright.